Hello there! Welcome to Beauty Bee and welcome to a very, very exciting update for my Pan Those eyeshadows because finally, after 3+ months of working on the set of shades that I brought in at first, I have pan. And let's just jump right to that because I'm sure we're all living in suspense right now. It is the Luxie Mint Chip eyeshadow. I used this supposedly 10 times to hit pan. I'm not sure I really believe that because I think that I've been doing a really bad job of tracking. I will find myself sometimes looking at numbers for different projects and just thinking these don't add up at all. Sometimes I look at one project and I'm like, this seems right-ish, and then I'll look at another one and just based on how I use things together, it's like there's no way both of these numbers are right. So supposedly I used this 10 times. I would say it was probably closer to 15, but whatever. I've hit pan. And that is not like the tiniest little newborn baby pan you've ever seen. That's like 4-month-old baby that's like starting to be a little bit of an adorable chunkster. So I'm really, really happy about that. And I'm really happy that this month I get to bring in a new shade without feeling like I'm increasing the load of this project at all. I'm pretty excited for that. So, Luxie Mint Chip, first pan of the project. It's only been 3 months, so thank goodness. Okay, for some other shadows that I've been working on, I think I'm up to 7 that I've been working on. So we're just gonna stay at 7 and bring in only 1 this month. We don't need to talk about that yet. That's for the end of the video. Anyway, another shade that I brought in is also from Luxie. This is Get Naked. It is what I'm wearing all over my lid today. I have a little bit of a sparkle in my inner corner, but this is the only lid shade I'm wearing. It looks like a beige in the pan. It has a little bit of a blue sheen to it. Let's see if I can get that to show up for you guys. Yeah, I think you can sort of see it. It has a really pretty glow to it. It's very different. It looks rather unassuming in the pan, but it really does add a special sparkle to the lid. I really like it, and I've used this 6 times in the past month, including today. You know what? I think I've actually had that one in for 2 months, and I've used it 6-ish, so like maybe 10 times over the past 2 months. Next up, we have the shade that's giving me that little glittery pop in my inner corner. This is from Natasha Denona, and it is Flutterbye. Flutterbye, I think, is a color pop palette that I don't own, so really not important to this video. But this is a lovely champagne glittery shade. It looks really similar in a swatch to the Luxie, but you can tell it's lighter. It is a true champagne rather than what the Luxie has, which is that blue-green shine to it. This is also just a different feeling formula. This is not a glitter, it's not chunky, but it does have that real sparkle to it, while the Luxie is not smooth, but it's a lot closer to being smooth. So I am at 17 uses on this, and I'm not gonna hit pan anytime soon. There's a dip. It looks like it has been used, so that's good, but I am going to roll this one out in the next month. I'm gonna roll actually all of the eyeshadows that I brought in the first video, in the intro, out in the next month, because I told myself 4 months to work on things. If I'm really consistently using them, which I think I have been, at that point, I'll just allow myself to roll them out. So I have 1 more month to continue working on this, and I hope that I have some more progress to show you in May. Let's stick with Natasha Denona. I brought this shade in the intro as well. This is from the Ayana palette, and I've been working on Harlow, which is right over here. And this actually has a little bit of a dip going on. I did get a little bit of hard pan in the past month, which I will need to scrape away or take off with tape sometime pretty soon. I think that what I did was, like, I was just being over eager with my eyeshadow brush first thing in the morning, and I managed to go well outside this area and like here, and I picked up some of my moisturizer somehow. I don't know. It was one of those things that can really only happen like before you've had any caffeine in the morning. And somehow I got some hard pan that I need to fix. But there is a little bit of a dip going on here. I am like 300 uses away from hitting pan probably, but that's fine. I've been using it. I've been really enjoying it. This is a pretty palette. And I think the fact that I've had this shade in this project has caused me to reach into these other shades a bit more than I otherwise would have, which is great because I like this and it would be a shame if I wasn't using it. Keeping with the shades that I've been working on for 3 months at this point, we have my Cherry Crush palette from ColourPop, and I brought this in for a shade from my least favorite palette, so sorry ColourPop, but this one was just not a hit for me. Or I think in general, I've seen this one on the sale page many, many times on their website, so I don't think I was the only one who felt that way. Anyway, the shade that I am working on is this in the upper right hand corner. It is Cherry Stem, and I like the shade. It's very pretty. I definitely did not swatch the last one, did I? We'll fix that in just a second. It's sort of reddish. It's a little bit of a neutral take on a red in comparison to everything else in this palette. It looks very neutral, and I use this in my crease probably once to twice a week. I like it. It's pretty. I think it works really well with the green shadow that we'll talk about in just a minute here, but I really have no visible progress. I mean, it looks like it's been used. It looked practically untouched at the beginning of this project, so I guess that in itself is visual progress, but I don't think you're going to be able to see that through the camera. It's really not going to translate, I think. But at least I'm using it. So that was ColourPop Cherry Crush. Let me also get a little swatch of Harlow from Natasha Denona while we're here. Really pretty. Okay, let's move to the green shade that I was just talking about. This is from the Mandalorian The Child palette. This, I think I brought in for the prompt my favorite palette, or a shadow from my favorite palette. And I chose Right Hand Mando, which is this silvery green up here at the top. It's really interesting because somehow, in the context of this palette, this looks like a very silvery green. But when I swatch it out, it still looks like the shade from the palette, but I see a lot more golds to it. I like it a lot. It's a really, really beautiful color. It pairs gorgeously with Cherry Stem. These are just both that neutral yet colorful type of shade, and the fact that they are complementary to one another just really leads to an interesting but versatile, fairly easy to wear every day eye look. I really enjoy it. So I have been working on that one, and I have a little bit of a dip going. I think you can tell in comparison to some of the other shades in this palette that I really have used this one. It looks very disturbed. There is a little bit of a dip going on, though it's hard to talk too much about dips with these types of palettes, especially because I think the way that I tend to use eyeshadow, I will usually go in with my fingers, and I think that I do a pretty good job of spreading my use out over a large area of the pan, so I don't get those really like small steep dips that some people get when they use brushes. I tend to get this like really gently sloping dip that covers a much larger area after using up a similar amount of product. So, been working on that, really like it, really enjoy having it in the project, and that brings us to the last shade that I've been working on for the past month, which is from Viseart. This is from the Petit Pro Trois palette, and I brought in this slightly rosy brown. I don't remember what exactly the prompt was. Maybe an everyday eyeshadow, something like that. And that is quite a full-on swatch, but let me get that for you. Isn't that pretty? I think this works beautifully with any of the shimmers that I have in here. I'm wearing it today in my crease with Luxie Naked and then Flutter from Natasha Denona. I don't think I've ever made the mistake and called it Flutterbye before, but I've tried to do that at least twice now while filming this video. Goodness. So that is what I have been working on. Let me show you now the shade that I brought in. I rolled before I sat down to film this video just to save myself a couple of minutes, and the prompt that I pulled was favorite formula. I found that one to be kind of hard because I was kind of bouncing between a few different ideas. It's like there's some brands that I really like their shimmers, but I think their mattes are just okay. There are others like Viseart where I think their mattes are amazing and I think their shimmers are good, but are they as amazing as the mattes? Absolutely not. And what I settled on was a shade from Lorac. So what I really like about Lorac is that they are consistently good across the board. So for example, in this palette, there are 3 finishes. There are 3 formulas here. These 2 at the top are very sparkly, very shiny, and they're not smooth. They're very similar actually to the Natasha Denona Flutter shade in that they are very shimmery, bordering on glittery, but they're not chunky at all. These 2 shades, the 2 deeper shimmers, are a much smoother formula. I think you can almost even see it in the pan. Just, these are, it's like the shimmer particles are larger. These shimmer particles are much, much smaller and finer. And then there's 2 mattes. And all of them are good. All of them are actually really, really nice quality. I love this little palette. So I knew that I wanted to bring in something from this palette, and I think that I'm going to go with this shade right here. I don't know if this has a name. At the very least, does not have the name on the packaging. But this is a really lovely brown with this little bit of almost duochrome sheen to it. Isn't that gorgeous? I think that'll be so much fun to work on, and I like that I'm bringing in something a little bit deeper. I kind of felt like I was bringing in color with some of these shimmers previously, but I was choosing these really, really light shades because I was like, those will be so easy to wear for every day. But what that ended up meaning for me was that I couldn't bring in multiple, and that they were just all so light and so similar. I feel like this one is actually different, and this gorgeous like rosy bronze shine is just, I think, going to be so much fun to work on. I can see myself doing so many pretty looks with it, and it'll get me to pull out this palette more, which is never a bad thing. I love this little guy. Here is my update. I have my set of shades to work on. I think they're going to be very fun to play with. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, by the way, but I've been using Meg Delaney's prompt list that she used last year for this project. I edited it just a little bit, and that, as along with her channel, is always listed / linked down in the description box. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Please consider liking and subscribing if you did, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye guys!